That's what matters.
And so are you.
Hey, kia ora. Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1419. Woo-wee.
Woo!
We're getting up there. We've only got like less than a month and a half to go before we hit. Well, hello to you too. Hang on. I just got to mute this phone so we're not getting quacked at. One phone will give me notification, give me sound when the text messages come on. The other one will not. Figure that one out. But welcome to Before the Dirt Nap number, was it 1419? And tonight, as you can see, I have a very special guest on, Joy Francis. She is an incredible human being, an amazing woman who has a lot of knowledge when it comes to numbers. She's like this human computer thing. I don't know, but all I know is I'm not good at numbers and she is. So Joy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Helen. It is a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it is a pleasure to have you on. When you said that you wanted to be a guest, I got so excited because I know a little bit of your story. And for those that don't know, Joy is legally blind, and you're going to find out how she found out in her 30s that she was born legally blind. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about that, because you're she's a coach and you're a coach and motivational speaker, and you said and you're going to be sharing some of the challenges that you face with your life and how you live your best life now. And that's the crux of that's what we want to get to.
It's amazing. I grew up and I was clumsy, and I was not real good with sports, and I didn't like to read and a lot of the little things, but I was a kid, and a lot of kids were like I was. And so it was no big deal. So I just went through school and thought I was not as good as everybody else, and was always told that because my father kept saying that. So it was okay. That's what it is. I got through school, finished, did well in high school, did well in college, and went on, kept going and going, ended up, I'm actually 3 classes from a bachelor's degree in geophysics.
Wow.
And oceanography. But at the time, this tells people a little bit about how young I am. At the time, they would not allow women to get a PhD in oceanography. They gave you a PhD that you could not finish a thesis, so you would end up being PhD, ABD, all but dissertation. And so I moved back home. My mother was having health problems, so I helped with her. And I had been putting myself through school doing basic bookkeeping. So I went and got a job as a bookkeeper. And I was earning a big $100 a week. That was a lot of money back then.
That was a lot of money.
That's how old I am. That tells you that I'm not a kid anymore. But anyway, it was okay. I was enjoying my job. I was having fun with it. And there was this lady, we shared our building with another company. That company was an office supply company. And they had a lady that was in control of things over there. And she was their controller. Okay. And we got talking, and she'd tell me a bit about this and that and whatever else not. Well, I would do all my work. And at the end of every month, I would take my work, put it in an envelope, send it to the CPA. He'd turn around, send it back to me with a bill for $300.
Wow.
He put my numbers on his paper and sent me a bill for $300. I said, no, I can do this. I can put my own numbers on a piece of paper. So I went and got my degree. I transferred all my credits into the local university and got my degree in accounting and continued on from there. I did well. I worked for a garbage company. And that's an interesting story, but to tell people, and most of the kids are not, half the people on listening aren't even going to know about this when it happened, but I'm in Metro Detroit, and I worked for the garbage company when Jimmy Hoffa disappeared. Yes. Oh, and there was one day where in the news, they came out with, they thought that he had gone through the trash compactor at this restaurant, this banquet hall. And I was in the regional office, walk into the office, and everybody, as they're walking in, the first thing they do is grab the phone, call the operating center that would have handled the place that would have been picking up their trash. And the answer was, no, it's Michelli's. It's not ours. And so we finally just put a note up that said, no, it's Michelli's, which was one of the quote unquote mafia guys and whatnot. And so
I know when you talk about picking up the phone, you're talking about a landline, not a cell phone.
Yes, this is no, you didn't walk around with a phone. You had to walk through the door, walk into an office and find a physical phone and pick it up. But that was then, and that was there. And I did well and continued on. I ended up, when I finished my accounting degree, I ended up going to General Motors. And I did well there and was going along. I was one of the highest paid females in Chevrolet Financial. There were 5 of us.
Wow.
At a grade, at that time, grade 6. The next level was the 7, which I got that promotion within 6 months. And then the next level was to unclassified, and they already had me set up to be the next Mary Barra, even though she wasn't there then. But anyway, yeah, I was so bored, though. They didn't have anything for me to do. I couldn't stand it anymore. So I ended up getting a telephone call from the garbage company guy that I used to work for. He hired me and says, hey, I got something for you. Let's talk. And so we talked. I left, and I went to work for him again. And he is now the controller for a real estate conglomerate.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm getting experience working in all these different types of businesses and all these different things. And I've now just about finished my master's degree when I went to work for him. And so I finished the master's degree, go to work for him, end up a year later was, I'm going to date myself. U.S. hit its highest prime rate. December 16th, 1980.
Okay.
The U.S. hit its highest prime rate, and people don't fall over too much because the prime rate at that time, interest rates were 21.5%.
Wow.
And this is a
That's
real
what you
estate
get for a credit card these days.
Yo, think about it. It's crazy. 21.5%. We've got real estate, single family, multifamily, construction and housing, and a mortgage company. The mortgage company no mortgage company did well in 1980 when that interest rate went that high. And what ended up happening is right after that, the word came down that the 3 largest banks were going to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So my boss left, took the guy that was working with me with him, and left me. And so when this happened, I am, just this whippersnapper little kid in my 20s. And so I walk into the chairman of the board as a smarty that I am and say, I'll take on the whole thing because I'm basically doing everything already. Didn't know anything about mortgages, but I'll learn. And he said, okay, we'll try. And for anybody that doesn't know, trying is nothing but a noisy way of not doing something. But we worked at it and worked at it and worked at it. I managed to help them get out of that bankruptcy. And from the best of my knowledge, what I've been able to learn since then is it was one of about 5 or 6 mortgage companies that were able to successfully reorganize from bankruptcy.
That's
And I
awesome.
did it using their own money.
That is awesome.
And yeah, I do that and have done that. I did that when I was at General Motors. I did the same types of things. I did that when I worked for uh, an automobile parts manufacturer. Did that when I was at the garbage company. I did that in more businesses than I can begin to think about. And so I did all this and was great and wonderful. And the CEO, my boss, and Helen, I got to give you my favorite words, the best words that he ever gave me.
Yeah.
Your answer when somebody you're trying to sell something, you're working with something, you want somebody to agree with you, and they say no. The perfect response: thank you. How can we make it work?
I love that. I love rewording things like that. It's like when people turn around and say, I can't do that, ask yourself the question, how can I?
How can I? Exactly. How can we make it? And it's a perfect answer in anything. It's the best thing he ever taught me. And he was, believe me, he was a tyrant. And that's the kindest way I could describe him. But that was him. And anyway, after we get things all taken care of and whatnot, he ends up having a heart attack.
Oh, no.
And he's now trying to turn things over to his 30-year-old son, who is a spoiled brat. Yeah, I did say that, but he is. You can talk to anybody, and he still is, from what I understand. But anyway, yeah. And by the way, that mortgage company, while I was there, what we did was we opened a savings and loan, and we rolled the mortgage company into the savings and loan. And that savings and loan is still in operations in Metro Detroit.
That's awesome.
Yes, that's a nice little piece of a legacy. So, but anyway, it was funny, and so I am working away and doing things and getting everything wonderful, and I'm going through this. I'm working for this tyrant. God, I want to start my own business. What should I do? And the answer comes back: leave. And but is that me or is that you? Leave. Yeah, but I was a great butter. And I finally, one Sunday, I walk into church, I sit down, and minister says, let's pray. I bowed my head, and then I looked up and said, okay, God, give me a sign, something that even I can understand. Walked into work the next morning and got fired. I understood that one.
Sign.
I understood that one. I've asked God not to take that 2x4 anymore. Please, I'll listen. I won't argue with you. But yes. And so I started my own business, and I went out and I started working with other people and supporting and creating and doing all the financial work that I could be doing and helping businesses right, left, and backward and forward and upside down. And then things were moving along. I decided that what I was going to do, a big part of what I had done with the mortgage company, was securities trading. And so I said, okay, I want to help more than just one company. I want to help a lot of people. So I went ahead and got my securities licenses and became a certified financial planner and an RIA. Yeah. Registered investment advisor. The words didn't want to come out there. Anyway, I got all the licensing and all the technical stuff I needed. And if you've never seen it, you've got volumes of paperwork that you have to
Oh, I
read
can
when you're dealing with
imagine.
securities. And I didn't like reading, so I thought I didn't like reading, so I was having trouble. And I wasn't making sales, I wasn't doing well, and I finally sat down and said, "Okay, God, help me. What's going on?" And I worked out at a health club, and two of the guys were ophthalmologists. No, they weren't. I'm sorry. They were not. My doctor was an ophthalmologist. They were the optometrists, the ones that make the glasses.
Yeah.
Anyway, I said, "Will, do me a favor. If I come into your office, will you look into my eyes and see? Yeah, I know you can't do anything, but is there something that you see that you would send me to another doctor for?" I went into his office. He looked and he
Now
looked and he
you're
did
in your
not stop
30s
looking.
you're in your 30s by now, correct?
Yeah, yes. Now I am.
Yeah.
Yes. By then I just turned 30.
Okay.
And so anyway, I am in his office. He did not want to stop looking because he'd never seen what he was seeing in my eyes.
Wow.
He'd seen it in a textbook, never seen it in somebody's eyes. And it was okay, fine. And so, yes, he did send me to another doctor. And that doctor is the one they did a computerized test testing my eyes.
Mhm.
And it told them that I can only see in a spot that is literally, about that big. It's about the size of a drinking straw. That's
Wow.
all I can see. That is 4 to 5 characters at a time that I can see.
Wow. And
Yeah.
yet you've done all this stuff with getting your degrees in accounting and finance and everything else and helping these businesses, only being able to see through through a drinking straw.
Yes. Yeah,
Wow.
and I see things that I can't see. Ask me how. I know my eyes when I look at something. Yeah, I I call it God. You can call it whatever you wish. I choose to call my higher power that being God. But God helps me to see and points me in the right direction. And I can look at numbers in a financial statement and I'll see a problem because I'll look right straight at the right numbers to be looking at. And I know enough about the numbers to make them work so that they're going to give the information that needs to be taken care of.
That is fantastic. That's just mind-boggling.
Yes. Well, anyway, in with all that happening, I now find out that I'm blind, and it was, now what am I going to do? I've got the securities license and all this other stuff, and I can't do anything with it. So I then said, okay, well, how did I get myself here? I'm teaching people. I had been I had started more businesses with the the mortgage company where we started the savings and loan, and we started a cable company, and I can't tell you the number of businesses that we got started there. So I started teaching people how to start and run businesses. And I have done that over the last, between 35 and 40 years. I've been doing that. And I have helped thousands of different people all around the country. And during the pandemic, God called me back to work. He said, okay, Joy, it's time for you to go back to work. You're going to go back and help some women make some money and keep it. So that is now what I am doing. I am working with women that are women that are working at creating a business, developing it, expanding it. And I'm working particularly right now. I found a lot of women are taking over family businesses because they've lost their husband.
Yep.
And they now are thrown into this and they want to do it. They love it, but they don't have as much experience as the husband did.
That is fantastic. Now, I know that there's a big chunk of your story that you left out, because during your 20s, you were also battling breast cancer at the time as well, when you're doing all of this other stuff.
Yeah, I battled that one while I was still working for the mortgage company.
Just throws that in there casually.
Yeah, what the heck? Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal, because the time that you were going through it, they didn't have the technology or the treatments that they have today for it.
No,
So
they
that
did
is
not.
incredible that not only had you been blind since birth, looking through a drinking straw, which explains all of your clumsiness that you were experiencing.
Right.
But then during your 20s, while you're doing all this education stuff and working with businesses and stuff, you're also battling breast cancer.
Right.
That is like, you just blew my mind.
Well, they diagnosed it when I was 21 and continued to check, and it was every 3 months you go in for a checkup, and I would be, I'd be a basket case a month, 2 months before and the month after. So every 3 months it was about 2 weeks and I was semi-okay. But it was crazy. And then all of a sudden something didn't feel right. And my doctor recommended bilateral mastectomy.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't sure. He said, I don't think we've got, but it's stage 0. It's mammary dysplasia is a diagnosis. And that is breast cancer. That is stage 0 breast cancer. And that is, I laugh when I hear some of the younger people talking about, oh, they go through. And I just say, yeah, been there, done that. And fortunately, I had a doctor. He was an absolute unbelievable prince. He was the kindest, most caring man that you could ever begin to want to be around. And I just adored him, still do, even though he's no longer with us. But he wanted to take care of me. He wanted his comment, and forgive me if I offend somebody, I apologize, but he wanted to be able to do the surgery and hopefully have the reconstructive work done so he could keep me as whole and as much of a woman as I was at that point.
That's awesome.
And that was the way he thought and what he did. I was very fortunate. They did not find more than the stage 0 cancer. So it was okay. I did not have to go through all the radiation and chemo and all the other things. But what I had done when I went through this, I had researched it beyond research. And the research that I found was that all women, you will get breast cancer. You may have to live to be 200 before you'll get breast cancer. But all women, it's just a natural progression. And I had insisted that they do a biopsy before I made the decision. And they did the biopsy, and I had it sent to 6 doctors around the Metro Detroit area. And I'm talking to one of them. He is the top breast cancer specialist at the Detroit Medical Center.
Yep.
And he's talking to me on the phone. And remember, I'm in my 20s. And he's looking at the slide from my surgery and says, Joy, this slide looks perfectly normal for a woman in her mid to late 40s. I'm not even 30. He's like, oh, I agree with AJ. If you can mentally withstand the surgery, do it.
Excellent.
And I had all but one of the 6 doctors agreed.
That's
and
awesome.
So that was why I chose to go ahead and go through it.
Now you're doing all this research with no internet at the time either.
No.
and not liking reading.
Well, when you got to, you got to. You just do
Yeah.
what you got to do. And yeah, and there was no technology at that time to do the reading for me. Computers read for me now, and they've got all kinds of things. And yes, they did have the audio books from the library.
Yep.
But it was not like the audiobooks that we get, and I get my audiobook every month from Audible.
Oh,
No,
I
it's
love
not
my
that
Audible.
kind of thing. I still have the audio players and the record player that I had to play the records on that were with my books. But it's interesting. And what's happened between yesterday and today, it's amazing. What they have learned and what they now are able to do is night and day.
Yep. That is just incredible. I mean, your story just blows my mind because it removes excuses. Because you're out there wanting to live your best life now. You had this disability that you didn't even know you had. Yet you went ahead and you broke boundaries, you kept going and everything else. And then you got the cancer on top of all of that, but you kept going through it all. You just kept moving forward. You didn't let anything stand in your way. And I think that is phenomenal. And it just shows people that there are no excuses for not doing what you need to be doing.
Not that no excuses for what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not the need, it's the want. And that's the biggie that stops people. What do you really want?
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to my favorite Napoleon Hill. Anything the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Those were my mother's words. She didn't give it to me from Napoleon Hill. She had, she never heard of Napoleon Hill, I'm sure, but because my mother had an 8th grade education, she'd had osteomyelitis as a child, which is the bone equivalent of polio. Polio affects the muscle, osteo affects the bone, but she'd spent most of her childhood in hospitals, so she didn't have a lot of education, but she's the smartest lady I've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
And she taught me a lot. And her words to me, you can do anything if you set your mind to it.
Those are awesome words and great words for us to end on as well, because we've run out of time. But yes. Joy, thank you so much for your inspiring story about how to keep moving forward through the adversities to help you live your best life now. That is just incredible. And I'm going to put into the chat right now. Joy's got a giveaway for the top 3. Sorry.
Yeah, I gave you the wrong one. That one's a book, and they don't want to read a book.
The decision one?
Yeah, the one that I gave you, the link is wrong. Where can I put? There's.
Do you want to do the free challenge?
I've got it. Let me get the right copy one here for you. I've got it. I thought I had. Yeah, come on. Let me back in, please. Let me there. There you go. Here we go. I've got it in there for you.
Okay, perfect.
And those are the top 3 ways, first 3 things you want to think about when you're making a decision. And the other link is it's a manual on how to walk through the decision-making process. And it's the long manual, and it's all the pieces and all the stuff. And most people probably don't want to go through that. At least most of the people that I know, they want, give me the short stuff. Give me the nitty gritty. Give it right now.
So the link that we've put into the chat, into the comments here, is the nitty gritty stuff.
That's the nitty gritty.
That's the nitty gritty. And you'll be able to connect with Joy through that link as well. As you can see, as you've heard today, she is a phenomenal woman who has overcome a lot of struggles, even when she didn't realize that she had the struggles. And that's what I absolutely love, is that you just keep moving forward. This is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to do it. Let's go do it.
Helen, I'm also putting in the chat, if you can connect with me on any of my social media, my email, anything that you want, any way you want to get to me, find out about me. I put my personal website in there so you can get information to me and find out about me, connect with me and talk to me.
Perfect.
Schedule an appointment with me there.
Yep, that is now in there. So Joy, thank you again so much for coming on the show this evening, and just showing us that there really is no excuses to go after what it is that you want to go after. If you want to live your best life now, get in action, find a way to do it. And if you want help with the money side of it, talk to Joy. She will help you with that. I mean, she got places out of bankruptcy by using their own money. Usually you think of places that are bankrupt, they don't have any money, but she helped them get out of it with their own money. So she is a very creative lady, an interesting lady to talk to, as you have just heard, with a very great, inspiring story. So Joy, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Helen. Thank you.
And to everybody else out there, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Have a super fantastic sparkling evening. Hei konera.